reparations, capitalism, and the augmented Southern strategy. This is the Benjamin Dixon Show. Let's go.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
you're now about to witness the truth.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Thursday night, January 21st, 2016. And I've only got two things to talk about. It may morph into three things, but tonight I really only have two things on my agenda. And that's to talk a little bit more about the conversation on reparations, but particularly how it fits into the context of capitalism and into the broader conversation that different voices, including someone I consider a mentor, Dr. Boyce Watkins, sent commentary that he gave on reparations and the entire conversation with Ta-Nehisi Coates, Killer Mike, Bernie Sanders, and me. So I have a clip of Dr. Boyce Watkins' video. I want to thank Iron Will for sending it over to me. I appreciate that on Twitter. I did not know it was out, but I want to talk about that. And then I want to talk about David Brock and the augmented Southern strategy. I need everyone watching tonight to really throw on your thinking caps because we're going into a deep dive. Hopefully, I'm only on 3 hours of sleep tonight. Today, I lost track where we are. But if I can make it through the show, we're going to go have a deep dive and talk about some things, particularly where it really matters the most. We are at a pivotal turning point in America where we can go in one of three directions. We can stay the course, which is comfortable for some Americans, which is very successful for some Americans. The status quo is not the worst thing in the world. The status quo is not terrible. It does produce the best of times and the worst of times, but it's the status quo. And it's better to have the devil you know than the devil you know going to take you further into hell, which is another choice. We can go further into this economic paradigm, this socio-economic paradigm, this cultural paradigm. We can go further into this neoliberal paradigm where we sacrifice labor at the expense of capital with no protections from the global forces. I'll unpack that. We can go further, which is really the vision. It's the wet dream of the Republican Party. They are fascinated and thoroughly satisfied with capitalism as we play it in America as it is. They want to go further. So we can stay on the status quo track where we are swerving back and forth, swaying back and forth on this enormous ship called the American economy, where we vacillate back and forth in between, 3%, maybe 5% tax rate changes. But for the most part, we're heading in the same direction that we've been heading in since 1981 Ross Kemp tax cuts. Or we can let a Republican get into office. And normally I tell you that there's very little difference between economic policies from Republicans and Democrats. I would argue that in many, many, many cases, but this new breed of conservative, they're a little different. They want to go even further. Or we can say enough is enough, and we are not satisfied with the status quo, and we sure as hell are not going to let us go even further down this neoliberal pipe dream that formerly was known as the American dream that now has come to bite us all in the rear end. We can say enough is enough, and we want to reverse course and do more things for the middle class, to protect the middle class and to grow the middle class. And in this strange way, it's almost as though someone like Bernie Sanders is the real conservative in this race, because he's hearkening back to a time in America when we focused on how do we move people out of poverty into the middle class and grow the middle class. We have three routes in front of us, and it's demonstrated by our choices: a Bernie Sanders, a Hillary Clinton, who is a status quo, and any Republican. I don't care if you go from John Kasich up to Donald Trump, they all want more of this current economic paradigm, and they don't mind ushering in this current economic paradigm with nationalism, xenophobia, homophobia, just straight out racism and white supremacy. They don't mind, because they've been doing it all this time. Why the hell would they change course now with their methodology? And uniquely interesting enough, Ta-Nehisi Coates' article really is a timely piece. Perhaps not for the reasons he thought, but it's a very timely piece because it forces us to have a conversation on the economic condition of African Americans, the economic conditions of poor people in America, how race plays into it, how race is a factor in this campaign season, and where we go from here. So his piece is very, very timely in that regard. And so to that end, I want to jump in with a video that someone I consider plural, present, plural. Someone presently I consider to be a mentor, because out of everyone I've ever submitted work to, Dr. Boyce Watkins was really the first one with any platform of substance to read my work. He loved my work and he brought me on, so much so that, we're so down that I've already told him that I disagree with his video, and I'm going to respond to his video, and he's going to share it on his channel. That's how we roll. We don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, and I disagree with him on this video, but I want to play the last 2 minutes of his video. I want you to watch it, and I want you to listen to some of the key things he says, and what he says takes us right into the conversation about reparations, capitalism, and even the augmented Southern strategy, for which David Brock, shilling number one for Hillary Clinton, operated in this brilliantly disgusting augmented Southern strategy where he's playing dog whistles, but he's playing it against white people, dog whistles to black people against white people. It's all interconnected. My head is hurting from thinking about it. Let me play this clip. So before I even started, let me give a shout out to Your Black World, the Your Black World Network. I know some of you guys are going to be watching this, and thank you, Dr. Boyce Watkins, for being willing to share my work, even though I'm getting ready to disagree with you pretty vehemently. So here's Dr. Watkins in the last 2 minutes of his piece.
You want to know who I support in this election? I don't give a damn. I don't care. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Because here's the thing. It's like this. It's like when we used to do, when I was getting my doctorate in finance, and we talked about what makes a stock price move. And there's two factors. There's what they call a systematic factor and the idiosyncratic factor. Idiosyncratic is what's specific to that company. What specific thing happened to that company that caused the price to go up or down? The systematic is what's going on in the whole economy. So if the whole economy goes down, then your stock price has a good chance of going down too, right? But the idiosyncratic is what happens with your company. How much money did you make? How good is your company being run? How organized is your establishment? How hard are you working in order to improve your business? And let me tell you like this. The idiosyncratic, the individual factor is always stronger than the broader systematic factor. And let me bring that analogy full circle so you know what I'm talking about here. Black people, we're like that company. We have individual factors based on how hard we're willing to educate ourselves, how much work we put into developing our own institutions, how smart we are with targeting and managing our money, how vocal we are in terms of supporting our own political needs, how well we raise our children, etc. Those are factors that determine how well we're going to do in the next generation. Those are the idiosyncratic factors. Systematic factors are things like systematic racism, who's in the White House, whether or not white people decide to help us out, whether or not social programs are in place. Those things certainly make a difference. I mean, if you sit there and you don't do anything for yourself, then those systematic factors will dominate your life. Who's in the White House will make a difference. If Trump's in the White House, you're not going to do well. If Hillary's in the White House, you'll do a little bit better. You might get an extra welfare check or two, as opposed to Trump, who might take it away. Okay, fine. But the idiosyncratic, the individual factors are what matters. And basically, if black people get our shit together, if we are unified, and if we are fighting, if we are educating ourselves, and we are empowering ourselves, nothing can stop that, not even Donald Trump. We will kick Donald Trump in the ass if we come as a force. If we build ourselves for the next generation, we will win the fight. If Hillary's in office and we don't have our stuff together, we're going to continue to sink down. You saw the last 8 years, we had a black president. A black president. Our lives have not gotten better. And the reason they have not gotten better is because we still sitting around waiting for Jesus. We still sitting around waiting for the superhero. Stop waiting for Superman. Be your own Superman. That's it. So no disrespect to Killer Mike and Ta-Nehisi Coates. I wish them the very best, but I warn them against this excessive alignment with these white liberal organizations and becoming these political operatives. I know it's beneficial financially. It's beneficial in terms of the size of your platform, but it's not beneficial in your quest to be a free black man. We need more free black men, more free black women. Free black men and free black women are going to save the black community, not paternalistic white liberals, because they hate your ass too. Listen, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Real Black Woman, the Black Business School. Please take care. God bless.
Hey guys, hey, I roll with some radical people. And Dr. Boyce Watkins has some great analysis there. But there's obviously some things that I disagree with on very strongly. And I played it in the last 2 minutes because I wanted you to hear his argument instead of me describing his argument to you. His argument really crosses over three very important components, which is racism, class, and economics. And as much as the message of what Dr. Watkins is saying resonates, it does. It resonates with someone like me because I'm doing all those things. I'm working hard on all those things. I'm building I'm taking personal responsibility. I'm doing all those things. But the reality of it is there's more to it. And what bothers me about the conversation a lot of times is that it always ends up in this place where people become apathetic, intelligent, yet apathetic in terms of their political participation, not realizing the implications of the people who are in power, the choices and the decisions that people in power make. It absolutely matters. It absolutely matters who the president of the United States is. It absolutely matters because they are pivotal in creating the structure in which all of us operate in. It absolutely mattered that we had Franklin Delano, actually, let's go back before him, Theodore Roosevelt there to break up the banks and bust the monopolies. It absolutely matters for us to have had Franklin Roosevelt there during the Great Depression to help pull us out the Great Depression and set the framework in America such that we could create a middle class in the first place. A middle class is not a natural occurring phenomenon. And so without a president to create the agenda for us to create and sustain a middle class, we would never have had one. And it absolutely made a difference in 1980 when Ronald Reagan won versus Jimmy Carter winning a second election, because Ronald Reagan took and changed the fundamental structure of our system such that over the last 35 years, the economic gains from our labor has been redistributed to the top instead of coming to people who are giving their labor. So these conversations that always end with, I don't care who is going to be president because it doesn't matter. You know what? It doesn't matter to someone who already has capital and someone who already has access to capital. Because you know what? If you have access to capital or you already have capital, you're right. You're going to do just fine no matter who is going to be the president of the United States. Matter of fact, really, realistically, all I need, let me adjust these volumes before I start busting something here. All I personally need is just a few more options in my portfolio, and maybe just not work so many hours. If I could get that, then, you know, my career is diversified enough such that I will be fine, whether it's Donald Trump or whether it's Hillary Clinton. But that's not because of that's just how it is in America, that anybody can wake up one morning and just do fine in America. That's not the true story of America. The reality of America is there is a structure in which we all participate, in which we all operate, that absolutely has a contributing a contributing force in where we end up. A contributing factor. I don't even want to say factor. That's why I'm stumbling. I don't want to say factor because it's more than a factor in where we end. It is a force that directs where we end. Case in point, right now today, if you are born in poverty, you are much more likely to stay in poverty. That's not because of your idiosyncratic contributions or your idiosyncratic behaviors. That's not because of systematic racism anymore. That's because of the structure of our economic system. If you are born in poverty, you are 70% likely, according to Pew Research, to remain in poverty. And only 26% of people born in poverty stand a chance of getting out of poverty and into the middle class. And out of all of that, 4%, only 4% of people born in poverty are gifted enough to rise from poverty into the wealthy class. That's not based on how hard you work. That's not based on whether or not you are black or white. That's based on the structure of our economic system, which is fundamentally shaped by who is the president of the United States and their agenda. So that when I hear people say it doesn't matter, the first thing I say is you really don't understand. Love you, boys. You know a whole lot of stuff. I respect you. I'm sharing this on your platform. But you're missing a fundamental component of the analysis. Yes, there's individual effort, the idiosyncratic portion that you're talking about. Yes, there are systemic factors in terms of systemic racism and tax policy and everything else. Those are systemic factors, but there's also a structural factor that we must be aware of, and that's the manner in which we play capitalism in the United States of America. The other thing that's in this conversation that Dr. Watkins gives, which is so important to the talk about reparations, that's very important in terms of what Hillary Clinton is trying to do to Bernie Sanders, is race. Race. I, for one, am so tired of having to talk about race, not just because I'm tired of talking about it, I'm tired of having to live it, but because it becomes a stumbling block. People, sometimes we see race too much and we can't see the forest for the trees. To prove my point, and before everyone starts, giving me a downvote, actually don't give a damn, give me a downvote. To prove my point, answer me this question. Why do you think racism, scratch that, why do you think slavery existed in the first place? I'll give you a second to think about that. Why do you think racism and slavery, rather, existed in the first place? Slavery did not exist because they didn't like black people. Slavery did not exist because America and the slave trade had something against Africa. It did not exist because they had a grudge against people of color. It did not exist because they were disappointed because they didn't have the same melanin in their skin and they were jealous of our strength and of our achievements in Africa. Slavery existed for one purpose and one purpose only, and that purpose was the extraction of cheap labor. Cheap and free labor. Our structure, our system has always, the system in which we operate, the manner in which we play capitalism in America has always been about capital versus labor. Slavery was about capital versus labor. Capitalists in America needed the cheapest labor possible so that they can build their economy and build their industries without the responsibility of paying a living wage to workers. And I apologize to people listening on Spreaker. I see the error that you guys see. So just bear with me. I'll replace the audio after the show. Slavery existed for the purposes of getting cheap labor and nothing more. Racism was nothing more, is nothing more than a tool of white supremacy for the purposes of extracting wealth. How else do you keep poor white people from paying attention to the reality that the problems in their life, their woe is me status, their lot in life is not because of Mexicans, it's not because of black people, it's because of our economic structure and the fundamental way in which we play capitalism. The fact that your landlord has a vested interest in charging you the highest rent possible with giving you and delivering the lowest quality services that he can get away with by law. The fact that oil investors have a vested desire and interest in seeing the price of oil be $5 a gallon for you so that they can make record profits, while you have a vested interest in seeing it be 99 cents a gallon so that you can make your check stretch further. There has always been, and if we limit everything to be about race, then we never address the fundamental problem underneath, which is the competition between capital and labor. That's why I get tired of talking about race, because it is the red herring that has very tangible effects in the lives of black people, that does lead to the killing of black people by police officers, because they view us through the lens of criminality. They see us as criminals first before they see us as human beings, but that was purposeful. They had to dehumanize black people in order to justify our enslavement. How else do you get good God-fearing white people who are reading something in the Bible about being kind to your neighbor to look at their slaves and not consider them their neighbors, except to dehumanize them? And that trait has carried through for generations to today. But the cause of it was not because they just don't like black people. The cause of it was white, rich capitalists, and some black, needed to keep slavery alive for the purposes of cheap labor, nothing more. And so you get poor white people to be angry at black people and keep them from ever realizing that the problems aren't black people. The problem is the fact that we play capitalism as a zero-sum game in which the people at the top have a vested interest in extracting as much wealth as possible from the people at the bottom and in the middle. And so when I heard this analysis by Dr. Watkins, I agree with the premise that we have the idiosyncratic responsibilities as individuals, right? Our uniquenesses that contributed to us being able to escape poverty, but our structure limits our capability of ever getting escape velocity. I'm feeling that. Gravity. Our structure around us is like gravity. Capitalism is like gravity. At least the manner in which we play capitalism is like gravity. You are only going to jump so high before these economic forces brings your ass back down to reality. And yes, there are some exceptional people, that 4% that the Pew Research showed. There are some exceptional people who can be born in poverty and escape poverty and not just go beyond the middle class, but go into be the top 1%, 4%. But that does not make up America, the average American. The average American is born in poverty and will die in poverty, or born in the middle class, get just enough loans to get to school, buy a home, and die broke in the middle class. While there's a very small percentage who are born in wealth and will never leave wealth, because wealth begets wealth. capital begets capital. If you got money, you can make money. If you have money, you can risk money. If you have money, you don't have to worry about making the rent. You can worry about creating a business. And so when we leave it to be a conversation about race only and be afraid of these white liberals, it fundamentally misses the mark, and we miss out on the fact that there are some poor, and not even just poor, there's some middle class, and even hell, there's some wealthy white liberals who understand the same argument that this is about capital versus labor. And how are we going to treat labor in this globalized economy? And the truth of the matter is, yes, we have done, African Americans have done just as bad underneath Barack Obama as they would probably underneath Mitt Romney. But it's not because of Barack Obama. This is why I also get upset with this same crowd. You guys want to blame everything and say Barack Obama was just, he's a black president and he didn't do anything for black people. Can we please stop with these intentionally obtuse observations and think for a minute that it has nothing to do with the man in the office? It has everything to do with the office of the presidency and the role it plays, the role it has been crafted to serve, which is a servant, a facilitator of the neoliberal economic paradigm that we currently exist under. It has been crafted and molded. The office of the presidency has been crafted and molded to be a servant to the military industrial complex, which is why no matter who's in office, we're going to find a war to get into. And I would argue that the military industrial complex is nothing more than an extension of our capitalistic system. And so while everyone is scrambling and saying we did just as bad underneath President Obama, do you understand why? It's because of the structure of our system. And I don't see one candidate talking about changing the fundamental structure of our system other than Bernie Sanders. I have not drank the Kool-Aid for Bernie Sanders. I don't care if it's Bernie Sanders or goddamn Colonel Sanders, Deion, I don't care who it is. As long as they are talking about changing the structure of our system so that it serves the majority of Americans, so that it serves the average American, I could care less if Bernie Sanders drops out today. My allegiance is not to Bernie Sanders. My allegiance is to doing something so that the average American has a fighting chance. So Bernie Sanders could drop out of the race today. I'm looking for the next progressive that's actually going to address the fundamental way people who work for a wage are exposed to this new global economy. In other words, all of you brilliant people who think it doesn't matter who you vote for really has an impact on how exposed your ass is to the Chinese working class. In other words, a person in China is now in competition with your labor. A person in China who can live on 50 cents a day, I don't know, maybe $5 a day, is in competition for your labor. And what do you need? $100 a day to survive in certain cities, to break even? But it doesn't matter who we vote for. And so you voluntarily disenfranchise yourself because you feel like it's the politically astute or the intellectually astute thing to do, when in actuality you have shot yourself in the foot because you've given over your voice and your opportunity to shape the structure of your system. Purposefully said, the structure of your system, and you've turned it over because you don't think anything's going to change or anything's going to be different. I think I've covered everything I need to say about that. It matters. It matters who you vote for. It matters that Hillary Clinton is the status quo. It matters that anyone from the Republican side right now, this may not have been an argument I could have made 8 years ago, but it is a sound argument right now that anyone from the Republican Party right now is so rabidly extreme that they want to further expose your bare parts to this global economy without any protections for labor, any protections for the middle class, without any, just you and your idiosyncratic hard work. Now you tell me, how talented are you that you yourself, did you win the lottery? Are you so gifted? Are you so special that you can outcompete? Are you part of that 4% that can outcompete the global economic factors in which we have been completely submerged? I always refer to myself as the average American. Truth of the matter is, that's not entirely true. I am very far from the average American. I'm the average American in how long it took me to realize I'm not the average American, right? The things that I do, the speed at which I calculate in my brain, the manner in which I can switch gears, multitask, the talents that I have, all of these things that I have at my disposal makes me above the average American in terms of my chances of getting out of middle class, working check to check. My chances are better because I am above the average curve. So is Dr. Watkins. So is Ta-Nehisi Coates. So is Cornel West. So is Bernie Sanders. So is Hillary Clinton. That you can call them the elite if you want to. The reality is that they had a skill set and an opportunity, not just a skill set, because hell, I've had this skill set for a very long time. And it wasn't until Dr. Boyce Watkins gave me the opportunity that I actually was able to have a platform to share. But we all have an intellect that is capable of being monetized, and everybody can't do that. Yet and still, I work 60 damn hours a week with all of my good ass talents, and I'm still struggling like the average American. Now, you tell me how much individual effort is enough to to gain escape velocity above and beyond the forces of our economic system, such that the average American and the average Black American can escape without fundamental changes to the structure of our system. It does not exist. And that's why we have to have somebody, for the love of God, I don't care who it is. Dr. Jill Stein, I'll hear you out. But somebody has got to change the conversation in this country from being about just work your butt off and the American dream is yours, that pipe dream that has bitten most of us in the behind, put us in so much debt from college, put us in debt buying these homes, and now, and we only to realize all of the time we were fighting against structural forces that made our odds of ever escaping, what, 76% of us will never make it out. Which brings me to I think I'm going to end early tonight. Which brings me to the conversation about the augmented Southern strategy. Because when we make everything, when we stop the conversation at race, we are completely incapable of having the conversation about the economic structure. And it goes both ways. White supremacy created racism so that poor white people would never pay attention to the reality that they were poor, not because of Black people, but they were poor because of the manner in which we play capitalism, zero-sum game. But also this fear of anything and everybody being racist that has been fed to the Black community from the Democratic Party, the Democratic establishment, Hillary Clinton et al., David Brock, and the rest of the Get Along gang, and even some very select Black political elite who want to turn your attention and say Bernie Sanders is a racist. And so long as they can just convince you for a split second that Bernie Sanders is a racist, You miss the forest for the trees. And you stop and you never go and explore the conversation about the fundamental structure of our capitalistic system in America. You stop at race. And so white people, Republicans, are using the race card to get their voters to never have a conversation about economics. And then white people and black people on the Democratic, on left-leaning side will keep you from ever having a conversation about economics. What do they have in common? They have in common the joy and the satisfaction that they're doing okay in this current economic paradigm, and they don't have any vested interest in seeing it change. That, my friends, is the establishment. Whether it is Republican or whether it's Democratic, there is an establishment for which both parties benefit. But they know they can spook black people into thinking Bernie Sanders is a racist. And again, I could care less if it was Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren. At this point, it could be Jill Stein. At this point, it could be, hell, I was going to say Krugman, but he's good in establishment now. It could be Robert Reich. Can it just be somebody who is bold enough to take on the office of the presidency and fight against those fundamental forces that is shaping the presidency to always serve neoliberal zero-sum capitalism and serve the military-industrial complex? But David Brock takes Bernie Sanders' ad today and he does the augmented Southern strategy. And he says Bernie Sanders doesn't care. Apparently, black lives don't matter to Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders ran a demographically accurate ad in Iowa showing pretty much the percentage, the ratio of black to white to minorities in Iowa. But because we did not count and have enough black faces in this ad, that means Bernie Sanders is a racist and he doesn't like black people and he has a minority problem. And you know what? You've got some black people dumb enough to believe that. I would apologize for what I just said, but it's out there now. Who the hell cares? And you have some black people manipulative enough to play on that. And you have some black media voices who are manipulative enough to seize on that. And they run with it and they tweet and they write their think pieces. They write their thought pieces about the problems that Bernie Sanders has with minorities. When in reality, Bernie Sanders doesn't have a problem with minorities. Bernie Sanders has a problem with the Democratic establishment. But racism. And so now they have precluded any conversation on the issue of economic structure, which is the fundamental thing, the fundamental framework in which we exist, which determines whether or not black or white, if your butt could ever get out of poverty, or if you're behind, could ever get out of living paycheck to paycheck. But racism. And the same thing is true on the other side of the equation, right? The same thing is true on the Republican side of the equation. They can always distract their voters from ever paying attention to the fundamental structure, to the reality that the fundamental structure is the problem, because reverse racism, because black people are lazy, because black people want welfare and Hispanics wants your job. You know, they want that job that you want so desperately to pick tomatoes. When in actuality, companies have a vested interest in obtaining as much cheap, illegal immigrant labor as possible because they don't have any responsibility to pay them the minimum wage. And it all boils back down to capital versus labor. I'm not a far left socialist in the sense that I think capitalism has to be brought down. I am a reasonable enough thinker to realize that there are some things that capitalism can do well. But there are some inherent vices to capitalism that fundamentally places us at odds with one another, and we will never be able to get the the economic power and the innovation that's tapped, that is locked up, and that potential that's locked up in the average American, because the average American is getting pimped by our economic system. And so we do have a choice. It does matter. Do we continue on the same route that we're on right now, which is just kind of trudging along, with most Americans saddling up with so much debt and living paycheck to paycheck, trying to live the American dream, full and complete exposure to people in China who are working for $5 a day for the same thing that we want to charge $100 a day just so that we can live decent lives here in America? Do we keep going on that track? Or do we go the route that the Republican Party right now is offering, which is fundamentally saying, this is not what they said 10 years ago. This is not what they said 20 years ago. It is not the same Republican Party. 20 years ago, we would have had a reasonable debate. 40 years ago, we would have had a robust debate about this. But right now, they're fundamentally saying the only thing wrong with your situation in this economic paradigm is you. The only thing that's wrong with America is you. You're just not working hard enough. Well, I tell you what, my talented ass works 60, 70 hours a week, nonstop, like a machine, click, 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 click. And I'm still struggling to get escape velocity out of the middle class existence. Because just like everybody else, I'm trying to get paid. And I ain't gonna lie to you about it. Everybody around here talking let's be real. We all want to be able to live at a level that we don't have to worry about, where we can focus on what our individual greatness is without having to worry about, damn, I need to take this money and put it aside for rent because I'm behind. And if I just wait 30 days and be late, then I might not get evicted if I give them a check and let them. 90% of America, 95%, 98% of America is struggling with that. All right. It's probably as good a time as any. The phones have been lighting up. So the phones are open. 857-600. Wait. Let me finish this about David Brock. So sorry, phones. Give me a second on the phones. 857-600-0518. David Brock plays this augmented race card, the same augmented Southern strategy that Hillary Clinton played at the debates, where she tried to convince everybody that Bernie Sanders doesn't like or support your first black president, South Carolina. And because Bernie Sanders doesn't like and support your first black president, you should come run into my arms. Never mind the fact that my economic paradigm represents the status quo, which means what you got now is what you're going to get. You see how race is used on both sides of the equation to sustain the status quo? And the status quo is full exposure of labor to the economic forces of a globalized economy. I've got ideas, but that's not important. There's a lot of people out there with a lot of great ideas. The problem is, do we have someone who's willing to take those ideas and slowly but surely, we don't need a Bolshevik revolution. We don't need a proletariat violent revolution. We need fundamental change in the way we approach capitalism. I think Robert Reich's book, I haven't read it yet, but if the title gives any idea into the premise of the book, Saving Capitalism from Itself, then I think he's got the idea. I'm not giving a plug. I don't get paid, don't even know him other than what I read. But the title itself is that you have to save it from itself. And so we've allowed racism. We've allowed racism on both sides right now to be, it's been happening in the Republican Party for at least 40, 50 years, right? Since 1950, 60 years, right? It's been happening a long time over there. But now the Democratic Party they're masters, the establishment, they are masters of spooking you from considering the one person who is having the conversation that needs to be had about the fundamental structure of our system. The reason you have to be in that top 4% of talent and opportunity and luck to get escape velocity out of poverty. But David Brock thinks that, you know, Bernie Sanders don't think Black Lives Matter because he didn't have the right number of Black people in his ad. Augmented Southern strategy. We hear the dog whistles and you're just trying to pit Black people against a white man playing racism, playing the race card. Hillary Clinton, same thing. Bernie Sanders doesn't support President Obama. She won't say that in any other primary state. But when she got to South Carolina, because she knows she cannot afford to lose her stranglehold on the Black vote, she decides to play Bernie Sanders against President Obama. Augmented Southern strategy. And then the straight out Southern strategy from Republicans, all to keep us from talking about the economic status quo. All right. 857-600-0518. Tweet me at the BPD show. I'm jumping in the chat room over on YouTube to read comments. Spreaker, I do apologize for the buzz in your noise in your ears as you're listening live. I will get that audio switched out tonight so that you can hear it with better quality. First caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
What's up, man? It's John from Louisiana.
John, what's happening, man? What's on your mind?
Man, you on something besides a soapbox tonight. You took it to another level, just like the other day.
Thanks, man.
You had yeah, it's really enjoyable. I've been having sending out links to people to come in, but I have a question. I've always wanted to know what your take was on protectionism, because you mentioned you know, how we're competing with in a global economy with China and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know much about it, but I was always, from what I've read, it seemed like it's good in the short term, but not good in the long term.
Protectionism, right?
I mean, yeah, protectionism, you know, like I'm saying, economic protectionism.
Right. I'm not a protectionist. I don't believe that we should have trade wars. I don't believe that we should block barriers to trade. I do believe that if we are going to run headlong into a globalized economy, then we have to change the structure of our domestic policies such that we prepare. One, we have to revolutionize our education system. Now, I'm just throwing that out there because that is 2 episodes by itself. But the reality is we're not educating our next generation to be prepared for that globalized economy. Number 2, we're not protecting, we're not preparing jobs here. Job creators, quote unquote, job creators, such as they exist, they're not creating anything different here to take care of the reality that all of our jobs have been going overseas. Everyone can't be a computer engineer, right? If everyone could be a computer engineer, then there's all the jobs that we need. Everyone can't be a doctor. Everyone can't be a lawyer, right? We already have too many of them in the first place. So there are jobs, there are opportunities, but there's not opportunities for the average American, and there's not enough opportunities to take care of our internal economy when we are exposed to global forces and competition with people who only need 50 cents a day. What's the solution? If I had it, I probably would have a Nobel Prize. I mean, we can sit here and think it out, but I don't have it for you on the show right now.
Man, you are juiced up, man. Today, bro, you are on it,
man. Because they made me mad, man. This whole thing that David Brock do. You know, we're not that dumb, brother. You know, who do you play? Who do you think any of us are, let alone me, but any of us? Do you think we're that dense that we can't see your bullshit games, and that the fact that you just want to play, you think we're so sensitive to race that we're not able to see beyond that? Man, somebody send David Brock my way. That's who I want. Sorry,
I hear you.
Sorry,
I just was curious about. I don't understand protectionism, but I just know loosely about it. I guess I'll read more about it. It's just the basic gist of what I got, because I've heard Ron Paul talk about it.
Yeah.
Heard somebody else talk, various economists talk about it. I didn't understand how it really works, but I just wanted to always get your take on it.
Protectionism, in one form, there are many forms of protectionism, but protectionism essentially says we're going to create barriers to trade, and then also barriers to protect our labor. I think we should protect our labor, but not to the extent that we cripple growth. But we are so far off balance right now that we have raped labor. Labor has been eviscerated, where right now we have this day, not even day labor. What's it called? That Airbnb styled labor, where it's a volunteer economy, where everyone is on call, and they'll drive an Uber if they can get an Uber gig, and they'll open up their home. They'll sell things, just to survive. That's the kind of economy we're going to, because we have completely forgotten about. No, I'm sorry. We haven't forgotten about it. We have completely sided on the side of capital to the detriment of labor. John, man, thanks so much for the call, man. I want to grab the next one.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you. All right. 857-600-0518. Let me grab another question. Let me grab a question from the chat room, and we're going to get out of here in a few minutes. Other countries protect certain industries by a hidden tariff called the value-added tax. Let me take this next caller. 510. If you would cut down your radio. You're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Hi.
Yeah, you're listening. You're listening to me live. There's a delay, so you're gonna have to cut off your speaker or your YouTube and give me your name, comment, and or question.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, I'm down.
Awesome. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Vita, and I'm calling. I have a question.
Mhm.
We listened to you for a couple of days, and about tiny healthy coach and reparations.
Mhm.
I went back into my YouTube channel, and in October, Yvette Cornell on her channel with Dr. Boyce Watkins,
Mhm.
they did a YouTube a video about President Obama did reparation for the Holocaust victims
Mhm.
for $12 million. So I think it was valid for him to bring it up. I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter, and I think as a progressive, I think we should really start bringing to the public sphere more about Hillary Clinton and her dishonesty about her policies, instead of betting Bernie, trying to convince people about Bernie Sanders' policies, because there's more people out there. And also, my other question is about the capitalism that you talk about in terms of racism and structural racism around uplifting our Black people, because there's structural racism, and then with the trade policies, then also that we have the immigration policies that are also affecting people down that have maybe BAs or high school diplomas or are skilled workers. That we are being affected as Black people that do have skills, that do want jobs, are trying to get jobs, that are not being are being boxed out. Even that we are presenting ourselves in a professional manner, and then we're not getting hired, we're getting boxed out. There's been plenty of studies, and then we're made to look like we're being lazy. And then when we have people, some of our elite Black people that have the voice, you have a voice and you have listeners. And when you don't present us in the media, because I'm on the ground, I don't have the vehicles that you have to present us in that manner. And we and by you, sometimes the things that you say, you overlook us. Some of us is down here on the bottom, you know. And you sound sometimes, I know you might not mean it, but you sound like a little elitism, you know, to me, that's like elite. That some of us are really struggling down here, and there is a lot of structural racism. It's not like that we talk about it, because it does happen to us, and I am not talking about it. We just suppress it, and it affects us mostly in our health. Because we do face it. You know, I live in a neighborhood where some white people live a couple of doors down from me. The sheriff's department comes about 30 times, and then they're pull guns off. I live in a decent neighborhood. They call me niggers. They throw a bottle at me. They come and take pot. They sell pills and stuff off the house. They come to me, ask me, can they come in my house? Do I have guns and stuff like that? But I'm a white female, and I have 2 daughters. They sit on my window, throw bottles and stuff like that. So, you know, I have to face that. I'm a single parent, you know. I have to deal with the poor educational school system, and I'm a fighter and I'm educated. Absolutely. I read a lot of different articles, you know, and I'm updated with political stuff, and I'm intelligent woman.
Let me ask a question again, and because I want to call. What's your name again?
My name is Vita.
Vita. You are. I would say you're not. I want to say you're absolutely correct in what you're observing. The only place I have a disagreement with you on is the fact that I speak out about, and it's a minor detail, but I speak out about racism. But the main thing I want people to understand is you are facing, and I face similar racism where people have thrown bottles at me while I'm walking down the street with my wife, right? And I don't have a gun on me. And now I'm thinking maybe I do need a gun because I'm walking and this truck passes by, throws a beer bottle at us and calls us niggas out the window, right? That very blatant racism and even structural.
That's a small thing. That doesn't bother me because.
Well, hang on a second. Let me finish. Also, to the even to the reality that if you submit resumes and your name has a black ethnic sounding name, that you are less likely to receive the job or even a callback. So there is structural racism without a question that we all suffer to, but it is magnified based on your economic strata. You, as you describe it, like you describe yourself as being down here, right? So whatever your economic strata is in certain neighborhoods, you're going to feel the impact of racism even more so, not just because of your skin, but where you are economically. And what I'm saying is for us to uproot the whole twisted system is that we can't end the conversation at race. We have to understand the relationship and the purpose. Hang on 1 second, and I'll let you talk. We have to understand the full purpose of race was always to divide and conquer labor. And that once labor was divided and conquered, they could have their way, not only racially, but they can have their way economically. Go for it.
Yeah, I understand that. See, I've been in the labor market. I'm retired now because I got sick. I got ill. And so I have 2 daughters now that I'm trying to live on a different income now. So I'm not in the labor market. I'm disabled now because I had a stroke and had cancer. So I don't have that ability to have an income. So I'm trying to bring my daughters up. I have a daughter that has lupus now that was in college, collegiate college basketball player, lost her scholarship at North Carolina. So she's back here. I live in California. She's assistant basketball coach. I got one who used to go to Catholic school. Now she's in public school. That's horrible. And so I'm steady fighting. You know, I have to fight every day because, you know, you have to fight. You don't give up. You don't let somebody, you know, just punch you without researching and knowing the rules and policies and stuff like that. I'm a fighter. I do my research. You know, I look up stuff and get the policy, the rules. But I think we really need to stop paying attention to what all these little sound bites about Hillary and start looking at her record and start connecting.
I'm glad you said that. Hang on, let me play something for you.
The prison system, how she got dollars, how her and her husband got invested. Not only did they create the policy, but they also invested their money and collected money on that investment that put a lot of our black brothers and sisters in jail. We need to get Bernie to speak up about that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Connected policy.
I'm with you.
We as progressives need to start talking about that and stop talking about what some
let me say one other thing, because you're right.
And start breaking her lies down. You know, breaking her little sound bites down and start attacking her in the Democratic Party. Because she's got all these what's his name?
Krugman, Paul Krugman.
She's sending everybody out.
She's pulling out her big guns. She is pulling out her big guns. She absolutely is. And I want to do 2 things because you just reminded me of something. One first, let me
Morning Joe of the morning. You should have heard on the morning show. It was stupid.
Yeah. Okay. I want you to listen in to what I'm about to play. One, and then I want to give one more comment on your reparations thing. Listen, thank you so much for your call. I have a lot of callers lined up. Hang on. Hang on. Hello. Okay, one more thing, and then I got to let you go. Go for it.
The Princeton University guy with the new book that just came out, Gall. He had a new book out where he talks about the economical gap that we have. It's a new book out. He was on Sam Spider's show yesterday, day before yesterday. It's a really new good book, and it breaks down the economic and the capitalism thing. It's a brilliant book.
Okay, what's the name of the book again?
He was on Sam Cedar podcast to come on.
Sam Cedar. Okay.
he's a Princeton African American Studies
Oh
professor.
yeah,
He
no,
just
no, no,
came
no.
out
I
with
know
a
which
new
book you're
book.
talking about.
Yeah, it just
Yvette
came
Carnell
out.
was talking about it. I'll get the title
Yeah.
of it and I'll plug it. Thanks so much for your call, and
thank you so
feel
much. I've
free.
been watching you since the beginning. I love you, and I bless you and your family.
Thank you so much.
And you're good.
And listen, and listen,
You got a
and
good
listen,
heart.
listen. I don't think I'm better than anybody else. So I might talk like an elite.
I know that, but sometimes you get a little up there. Sometimes you forget. You gotta remember there's little small people. There's a lot of brothers and sisters down here that's trying to do better.
All right.
That, had hard times, and
Yeah.
some of the little brothers on the corner.
Listen, I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna stop you in the middle of your tracks, because y'all are not little. Y'all are not small people. We are all human beings. I appreciate your call, and you've said so much, and you've expressed so many sentiments that I agree with. So many things. Number one, on reparations, I have absolutely no problem talking about reparations. I have no problem demanding that Bernie Sanders speak about reparations. My number one argument against Ta-Nehisi Coates' article is that I'm tired of putting Bernie Sanders through these Negro hoops that no one else is putting Hillary Clinton through, Barton O'Malley through, or Obama. That's my only criticism of Ta-Nehisi Coates' piece. And to that end, I'm not going to ask Bernie Sanders to do one more thing, not a damn thing more, until everyone pushes Hillary Clinton, Martin O'Malley, and Barack Obama on the same exact issues. But now with reparations, let me put reparations like this. I treat reparations, if we're waiting on reparations, then we're just like religious people waiting on Jesus to come back. And I'll be just like that. Whenever it comes, if it comes, I'll be ready for it when it comes. But I'm not holding my breath on reparations. All right. Now, with that being said, I want to play this on my show from Hillary Clinton, because of their augmented dog whistle, augmented Southern strategy. They have been malicious in this week. I mean, they have been vicious with trying to convince people that Bernie Sanders is a racist, when in actuality, the story is a little different. And let me see if I can get this to play from my Facebook channel. Bernie Sanders in the 90s.
I've got a problem with a president and a Congress which allows 5 million children to go hungry, 2 million people to sleep out on the streets, cities to become breeding grounds for drugs and violence. And they say, we're getting tough on crime. If you want to get tough on crime, let's deal with the causes of crime. Let's demand that every man, woman, and child in this country have a decent opportunity and a decent standard of living. Let's not keep putting poor people into jail and disproportionately punishing blacks.
Hillary Clinton in the 90s.
Not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel.
And so that you're not mistaken, she said heel, H-E-E-L, as if they were dogs. We had to make them heel before we can address their issues. All right, I wanted to play that.
Gangs of kids anymore.
Hush, Hillary, hush. I wanted to play that because this idea that somehow Bernie Sanders is a racist because he didn't put enough black people in his commercial, as opposed to Hillary Clinton's rhetoric on super predators, which contributed to the war on crime and the war on drugs, which disproportionately affected minorities, especially poor minorities. Enough of that. I'm not putting Bernie Sanders through one more hoop while Hillary Clinton has not answered for this and so many other things. That's my only critique. That's the substance of my critique of Ta-Nehisi Coates. And in terms of elitism, listen, I'll be the first to admit, in terms of intellect and in terms of political savvy, call me elite. I'm guilty as charged. But this is the difference between certain types of people. You get people who get money, and all of a sudden they completely forget about the fact that they fought, that they had to work tooth and nail to get where they got. Or no, I'm sorry. They wrap it in this story of them working tooth and nail to get where they got, as if they pull themselves up by their bootstrap. The thing I know about me, the thing I know about my talents and my quote unquote elitism, is that all of it is for nothing if I don't get a lucky break. All of it is nothing if Boyce Watkins didn't give me an opportunity. All of my talents, all of my quote unquote elitism is nothing in this system. And this system is hurting me just like it's hurting anyone else. I can no more get out of my class than someone born in poverty can get out of their class, because we're fighting against the same system. Now, if you hear me say something in 10 years and say I got here by myself, then you can say Ben has lost his damn mind. Get this recording and play it back. But the reality of it is that we really can bring everyone up as much as possible if we look at the fundamental structure and confess that we have to do something differently. Because if we don't, we'll always be at war with each other, labor versus capital. And everyone at the bottom, all of us who work for a wage, because I don't care what you make. If you work for a wage, if you depend on somebody for a paycheck, you are in the same state as everyone else who's receiving a paycheck. And we are all competing with each other. We're all competing across races. We're all competing across genders, trying to get the very best job that we can. And so we are going to lose out to someone of a different race from time to time. We're going to lose out to someone from a different gender from time to time. We're going to lose out from somebody who's smarter than us. We're going to lose out to somebody who's dumber than us. And we're just going because we have been pitted against each other just to survive. And that's exactly the way they want it. Because the more we're fighting each other, the less we'll have energy to fight the system, the structure. Caller, you're live on the air. 760. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, Ben, it's Amos, man. I'm always on your debates and stuff like that whenever you have the debates.
Oh yeah, man. How's it going, man? Glad to have you calling in. What's up?
Yeah, brother. I mean, I'm really hot right now. And the reason I'm hot is because, I just saw the Boyce Watkins video, and I'm sick and tired of black leaders telling everybody who's black to be apathetic when it comes to politics. Mm-hmm. This has to stop. I mean, everybody.
Okay, hang on. I gotta do something. Yeah. I gotta do something because one, it is important to the message that you're trying to convey, and it's just important to me. It's got to be real. If you, I don't know your ethnicity. Are you black?
No.
Okay, so do me a favor.
Sure.
Dial it back a little bit when you talk about you're sick and tired of all the black leaders. Just communicate it in a way that's not going to make me not want to listen to you. Right. Can you do that for me?
Yeah, brother.
Okay, all right. Because I think what you're getting ready to say. Hang on. I think what you're getting ready to say is important, and it's more important for them to hear what you're going to say and not get lost in the fact that you're talking about black leaders like that. All right. So I want us to be smart about it. Go for it.
Right. I mean, I'm coming at it the way that Cornel West is coming at it.
Go for it.
What I'm saying is I disagree with what guys like Tariq Nasheed and guys like Boyce Watkins are saying when they're saying to the people that are affected the most by the things that Bernie Sanders is talking about. For them to just say, oh, well, we don't need to go ahead and participate because we're not getting everything that we want. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing that I'm going to say, okay? I'm a fan of African Americans getting
reparations,
but it has to be done the right way. See, the dominant society is playing chess, and we're out here playing checkers. What I'm saying is this: the whole game boils down to economics.
Yep.
Economics is key. And the reason I'm saying that is because it's like this, okay? I'm Indian.
Okay.
I dealt with 300 years in terms of India being oppressed by the British Empire. Right. I'm not saying that my situation is anything like the African Americans or anybody else. But what I'm saying is that the only way that Indians came up is they put their money together. The thing is, if everything gets separated and people who need to be in the system the most, the political system, get apathetic, there's nothing that's going to ever end up happening. All these people are talking about economics You know what I'm saying? Tariq Nasheed is talking about group economics. Boyce is talking about group economics.
Yep.
The biggest type of economics that can ever happen is that people get jobs that are getting paid well.
Right. You can't do group economics if people don't have jobs.
You can't talk about group economics on hidden colors or anything else like that and say to the person that's wanting to actually lift it up to say, oh, let's not support him because of something is happening here or something's happening there. It completely goes against the point that we're trying to go with.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm disappointed, because I think these guys should see that this is the big linchpin to the whole argument that they're trying to make.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Listen, I agree with you. I agree with you. Hang on. Hold up. I agree with you 100%. Thank you so much for the call. I have to clear up the line, but you made a very great point that you can't talk about group economics if people don't have jobs, period. And so the conversation about whether or not you should be politically active or not is ludicrous. If you're talking about group economics, you can't start enough Pan-African bookstores to employ the entire Black community, right? You can't sell enough dashikis. You can't sell enough bean pies to employ the entire Black community. So you cannot talk about group economics without discussing how are they going to get those economics in the first place. So to that point, I wanted to make sure that your point was clear, and I didn't want it to get lost in the fact of the tone in which you address Black leaders, which I felt that twin. So I had to correct you on that. But your point is very clear. You can't talk about group economics if your group ain't got no economics. Caller, you're live on the air. What's up?
Hey, Ben. Solomon.
Solomon, what's going on, man? What's on your mind?
I'm so happy I got to get in this conversation. I was after hearing Boyce, I saw the video on Twitter, but I didn't watch all but I think the first 45 seconds, and seeing the last 2 minutes you showed was really eye-opening to his argument. And there's a lot of theories about how Blacks need to get out of the political system. And this isn't the main part, but this is the preface to what I wanted to say is they want to, like the Black-owned business movement is kind of the second version of Black Wall Street. The thought that we can have the political equality or socioeconomic equality we need if we support Black-owned businesses first and always. And I like the idea of supporting all Black businesses, but
think Black. Like, wait, hang on. Let's just say be Black, think Black, and buy Black, and the rest will take care of itself. Go for it.
Yep. Is that economic inequality in the United States is so vast at this point. Even that I don't think will get us where we need to go. Whereas, like, I think the latest data was that either the top 4 or top 6 richest people, period, in the United States have more combined wealth than the entire Black population from Oprah down to the project. There just isn't enough money within Black society to equalize that. And that's the essential point of why I want Black Lives Matter to start pushing economic messages more, is that how are Black lives ever going to matter in a system where money is first and the top 4 to 6 richest people in the country own more than the entire Black population combined, from the richest first down to the poorest project? How is that ever going to happen?
It won't. It can't. It's a structural problem. It is a structural problem that if we don't address it on a really realistically on a global level, right? But let's just talk about America. If we don't address it on our domestic economic policy, then we will never have the opportunity to build Black wealth or any other type of wealth, because all of the wealth is being sucked right out of our hands. Listen, thanks for the call, man. I have to grab this next one.
Wait.
The reality of it is, listen, your entire life's labor, you work all of your life. They got your labor. They made profit off your labor. Your entire life's earnings. You work all your life, you make a salary, and what happens to your money? It goes out the window just to survive, just to live, not to invest, not to create a business, not to even pay for your kids' school. They had to get loans for that. So they take your entire life's labor and they take your entire life's capital. And what are you left with when you die? 40 years of service of being a good employee, but nothing else. So they're extracting all of our wealth, all of our labor, and all we have to show for it is, good job, man. You are a great employee. What type of generational wealth can we build? What type of group economics can we build when everything that we make and everything that we do is being extracted for the benefit of this capitalistic, neoliberal capitalistic zero-sum game system? And that's not a word salad. Everything I said was very intentional because it accurately describes the exact problem that we have in America. Keep in mind that it was black slaves and white indentured servants coming up together to rebel that pushed the elites to racialize servitude in America. Carolyn, thank you so much for that comment in the chat room, because that's absolutely true. I want to read it again. Keep in mind, it was black slaves and white indentured servants coming up to rebel that pushed the elites to racialize servitude in America, because if poor blacks and poor whites, which make up the majority, and poor Hispanics, who make up the majority, and poor every other demographic, right? Every other race and ethnicity. If they ever got together with their vote, let me read a quote for you. Everybody likes to attribute this quote to Alex de Tocqueville, but it actually isn't. It's a quote from a Scotsman named Tyler. It's really old, so it's hard to see. It says, a democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until the majority discovers it can vote itself the largesse out of the public treasury. What I just said there was very significant to this conversation. We, as the majority public, have the ability to dictate how our resources are used, right? This guy is saying it as a negative thing, and this is how they think. If the majority of people ever realize their political capital and their political ability to control the outflows of our largesse, of our coffers, of our treasury, and we can dictate how it is implemented through our political vote, their fear is that that would be the overturn of democracy. And that has been used as an excuse to divide and conquer for a very long time, when in actuality, it should be an awakening to us to realize that our political capital is the only thing that we have that they cannot rob us of. They can just convince us to lay it down. And to that end, I'll say what the other caller said, who was Indian, and I didn't like the way he was saying it. I'll say it. I am sick and tired of black leaders convincing their followers to be apathetic politically. Because I swear for God, if Occupy Wall Street unified with Black Lives Matter, check and mate, our system must acquiesce to the demands of a coalition that concentrated and that focused not only on political revolution, but economic revolution and the tearing down of this white supremacist system, which was set up simply for the pleasure of capitalists. Last call of the night. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Is this me?
Yeah, that's you. You're live on the air.
Oh, that's weird, because I'm watching you on another, I'm watching your YouTube, which I thought is live now.
Yeah, there's like a 45-second delay.
No. Oh, okay, great. Oh my God. I won the lottery.
Thanks so much for your call and your enthusiasm. What's on your mind? Oh, first of all, what's your name?
My name is Kathy.
Kathy.
And I'm calling from Seattle.
Seattle. What's on your mind?
Yes. And I'm a Black Lives Matter supporter, but I'm one of the Black Lives Matter supporters that say they're Black Lives Matter supporters and then don't do the hashtag and don't know the babies' names and, all that kind of stuff. I do. And I just really appreciate your show. I appreciate the topics.
Thank you.
That you're covering.
I appreciate that. So what's up?
Well, I just wanted to get on your show and say I agree with you, and I agree with so much of what you're saying. I think our nation absolutely should begin serious discussions about reparations.
Hang on a second. I appreciate your call. I appreciate your comments and everything, but you have a Southern accent. How are you in Seattle?
I was Harriet Tubman out of the South.
You were carried out on the. What part of the South are you from?
Well, I am from Tennessee.
Tennessee. Hey, listen, I grew up in Mississippi for many years and then Florida. So I have a Southern accent in here that comes out quite often. So, but listen, thanks so much for your support. Thanks so much for listening. And if you really want to keep supporting us, be sure to click that subscribe button and share with as many people as possible. Yes. That's what we need more than anything right now.
Thank you. And I really appreciate it when I also saw the video of you and Debbie Signan talking.
Oh, yeah.
You guys were great together.
Same anyway, progressive. Yeah.
I really appreciate your show, man. Anyway, thank you for letting me talk to you.
My pleasure. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, same progressive. I love her show, and I want to get her back on as soon as possible. Yeah. So I'll leave with this. Out of all the class critique that I'm giving tonight, fundamentally, I am a capitalist. I'm just not a neoliberal capitalist. I am not a laissez-faire capitalist. I'm not a zero-sum game capitalist. I am a capitalist that says, let's save it from itself and help maximize the potential of the average American, not just the elite, not just the top % of people who are so talented that they can escape and have so much luck that they get the right opportunities and they can escape. Imagine the amount of wealth that we can create in this global economy if we looked at the average person instead of just the elite. If we made opportunities for the average person instead of just the elite and those who are born in wealth. If we change the fundamental way we think about how we play capitalism, we don't have to destroy capitalism, and capitalism won't destroy itself. So for everyone who's running around and say, oh, he's a socialist. No, you have no idea. You have no idea what real socialism even is. You can't even define and distinguish it from communism and socialism. So miss me with all that. I'm saying we have more options and more tools at our disposal than what we're currently doing. And for the record, what we're currently doing will be sustained by Hillary Clinton. It would be further exacerbated by a Republican. Any Republican, take your pick. If you want to rearrange what we're doing, there's only two candidates, but there's only one major party candidate that's actually talking about that, and that's Bernie Sanders. And if you want to go off record, off of the third party, then Dr. Jill Stein. She's definitely talking about that. But I do believe in diverger's law, and there's a limit to our two-party system. Folks, if there's no other questions, let's see, all is good. Listen, I need you to subscribe, hit the like button. I need you to share this. We'll have segmented videos. Shout out to my producer, Owen, who every morning when I wake up at 5:30, my videos from the night before are in the inbox. I want everyone to thank Owen for cutting up these videos, because it's been the difference between me growing by 1 subscriber a week to getting 500 subscribers this week. I'm almost at 5,000. Help me get to 5,000. My 1-year anniversary is in 2 weeks. I need you to be a part of that and help me get to 5,000. Hell, we really need to get to 1 million, but we'll do small steps. Help us get the message out. I'm fierce like this. Well, let them tell you in the chat room. I don't even have to talk about myself. This is cathartic. This helps gets it off my mind. This is the type of stuff my wife used to have to listen to every day. So imagine how happy she is that she doesn't have to listen to this by herself. I can give this all to you. Help the Benjamin Dixon Show. Follow the instructions on this music.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Crazy mother.
If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Party, and after the party it's the hotel. Oh, I shouldn't be singing his song. All right, man, the radio broadcast is over. I'm going to share a link with you guys if you want to come hang out over at the Progressive Army website. We have a chat room over there. I want to close out the video here so that I can get the audio and replace the audio. If you guys want to do a Q&A, I'll be in the hangout over there. What am I doing? I'm on the wrong website, people. But thanks everyone for coming. ProgressiveArmy.com, and go to Facebook.com/Progressive Army and like the page. Go to the Benjamin Dixon Show on, you know what it is. Go find me. Here's the link for everyone on YouTube if you want to come hang out and chit chat. What the hell? Come on, man. Copy YouTube room. That's where we'll be hanging out. And all the rest of you guys have a great night. I'll holler at you later.